Hey everyone, welcome back to Final Trade. We have something just a little bit different today. I have an epic hero introduction. Those hands there are my friend James, a good friend of over 30 years. And he messaged me a couple days ago and said, I bought some cards off eBay. Do you want to commentate a video of me opening them? I said, well, why not? Any old garbage can go up on YouTube. So we'll see what we've got in this box. James, do you recall what exactly it said you were buying?
It was a guy with almost no sales on eBay, and that's what I was looking
That's
for.
always a good sign.
Someone who had no clue what they were doing, and he said, "My friend gave me this giant box of cards," and I was like,
Oh
"Okay."
man,
There's,
there's so there's so many great red flags there.
yep.
Okay, so people will sometimes be like, I don't know what's in this box. It could be all black lotuses, and it's like, well, no, it's not all black lotuses.
It's all dual
And so,
lands.
yeah, they'll kind of try to disguise that it's like leftover bulk from a card store because card stores have a problem where they just have mountains of bulk cards that they can never move.
Yeah.
And so people will kind of try to package those into things. Okay, so the first sign here is a BCW box. That means it's somebody who's semi-professional because they're paying too much money for a BCW box to put these in. So
Yep.
um,
So it's junk. We can assume.
no, it's hard to say because somebody with no feedback, that means it could be a real collection. So what did they advertise or as the number of cards you were buying? Did they make any claim?
No.
Okay.
There were
See, this
pictures of a bunch of cards laid out in like a seemingly random order. So.
so one of the problems I have a lot of the times buying on eBay is that turn it over. Yeah, there you go. Is that people will just kind of vaguely estimate what they have.
Yeah.
And they always estimate way too high. And the thing is, like, you can just take a ruler and measure the length of the stack of cards you have, and
Yep.
just it's I think 90 cards per inch is
Huh.
about how many cards. And
Oh,
so
gosh.
like you can just do a quick calculation.
Yeah, there
Okay.
is a lot. They're all about the same fill, and they all seem to be in good condition, at least so far.
So it's interesting. Obviously they're modern cards. They're not older cards. What's the copyright date at the bottom?
2016.
Okay. So just a few years old on those.
Let's see if they're all kind of in the same era.
And then, do you know about the rarity symbols and the colors on the rarity symbols?
Not particularly. But look at this guy.
Oh, nice. And
93.
one from Mercadian Mass. So Mercadian Mass came out about 99 or so, something like that. It was right
Yeah.
after I stopped playing.
Yep, 93 to 99.
So that's cool. So maybe there will be some more vintage cards in there.
Yeah.
But the ones you got on screen now are like they're definitely later cards if they're 2016. The thing with the rarity symbol is that set symbol that's on the right side of the card. It'll change color depending on the rarity of the card.
So this one here.
Yeah, that. And so gold is rare, and then silver is uncommon, black is common, and kind of orangish is mythic. If you're in a set late enough to have mythics.
This is
So what?
rough.
That's like silver.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking
And-
for. This is a common here, black,
Yeah.
and then there's a bunch of the same cards. Huh.
Oh, hang on, stop on that. Yeah, that's something from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. This is the Dungeons and Dragons set that just came out a couple months ago.
Oh, nice.
And like they had these interesting like dungeon type cards. And so there's this effect, I don't know what the name of it is, but it basically makes it where like you put a little token physically on this card of where you are in the dungeon, and then every time you get that effect, it's called something like, I don't know, dungeon crawl, maybe it's and so every time you do that, you get to move down the card one row and you
Ah,
can
yeah.
choose like to go left or right as you do it. And so you move through the dungeon and you get that effect every time you get into a room. You
That's
get
kind of
whatever
cool.
effect is on the room.
I was
And so
watching.
it's a neat new mechanic that they put it. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was watching Alpha Investments, and he was talking a little bit about it and opening them up. Pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. It's I think it's a cool mechanic, and it's really sad that like the player base hasn't really embraced the Dungeons and Dragons set because I think it's kind of a neat way to introduce some new mechanics to Magic.
Yeah.
So this is interesting that it's
It's a
what's
mix
that
of
white border? What's that white bordered card you have in your hand there?
this one.
Okay, that's what eighth or ninth edition on that set symbol.
8.
Eight, yeah.
Sorry,
This
it's
is weird.
blurry.
It's because like eighth edition would have been like 2001 or 2000, something like that, and so it's weird to see that like next to an Adventures in the Forgotten Realms card.
Yeah. Maybe they just had a giant set of. They bought a whole bunch of cards and then took out all the good ones and were like, "Here's all the rest."
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, what would you judge? And I don't know if you, I don't know if it's easy for you to judge this or not. Like the overall condition. I mean, do they look like they're brand new cards?
They look great. This is a 2015 card, and I see like there's some. Looks like they haven't been played. I guess I would say.
Okay. Yeah, another test you can do is to pick up like a stack, like an inch thick stack, and
Hmm.
look at the size of all of them together, or just take off
Look at
those
that.
cards that are sitting on top. So does it look pretty clean and mostly white? Yeah, yeah, those look pretty clean because obviously those are the exposed edge of the card stock when they get cut at the factory.
Yep.
And so when you handle the cards, like the oils from your hand and the dirt will go in there most most readily and most obviously.
What's this thing? Use this card to
Uh,
represent a double-faced card.
yeah, you can do that, or you can just turn it into a proxy. I wish they were a little cheaper because when I sell cards on eBay, like I'd like to like write a note to the person that buys from me and be like, "Hey, please leave feedback." You know,
On one of those cards.
yeah, I think it'd be cool,
Huh.
but they cost like 30 cents each, and so I'm not going to spend 30 cents on every order to.
Yeah. So, how often do you see Japanese cards?
Yeah, so of all the foreign cards, I think Japanese are the ones I end up with the most, and then probably after that is Korean.
Okay.
And then um, there's some Chinese language cards that are sold in Taiwan and in West Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll come across some various European ones occasionally.
M19.
Yes. So 19, that would be core 2019 set.
Okay. This would be hard to sort out. Take a while.
Yeah, it's interesting. It looks like you have this like I'm gonna go ahead and say what I suspect is that these cards came out of a card store. This was kind of like bulk stuff
Mm-hmm.
from a card store, and then either they pass through one individual person's hands, or the card store is selling them online and just doing it discreetly and only using an account for so long,
Yeah.
so that they don't look like a card store. Because there's a lot of games that get played on eBay with trying to move around bulk cards.
And I imagine it's
And
hard because people know what's happening if you don't do it
yeah,
like this.
and one thing you can do to kind of try and figure out what you've gotten in terms of value is flip the whole stack around 180 degrees so that you can just flip through if you're right-handed. You can flip through real fast looking at that rarity symbol of everything and see like, do I have any silvers
that.
or any golds or yeah, you can do like that when you're just that's how they search really fast to pull out anything of value.
Okay. These look a little bit different. They it's not white on the side, it's more colored on the side.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that can come down to like, who is that? Ooh, some 6th edition. What's that? Fit of Rage?
Good
Yeah.
call. Yep.
And then another Mercadian. Yeah. Ooh, another Mercadian and one from Chronicles, the Goblin Architects. Nice. A Mirage card. some Urzas. See, that's all the stuff I'm excited with. Is all of that
Look how
old
old
frame
this
stuff.
is.
Yeah. Look, yeah, okay, so that's probably going to be a Chronicles card. Look at the copyright date on that. It should be 94 or 95.
It's 95. Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm. Pretty neat. It's just a giant collection. It looks like. I don't know if there is any deliberate culling, but I haven't seen anything higher than a silver yet. I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple of comments about that. One is the colored rarity symbols did not begin until Urza's Legacy. I think no, Exodus was the first set with colored rarity symbols, and that was around 97 or 98. And so those older ones won't have them. But
Okay.
most of these cards that you're going through are after 97, 98. And then, like I had said before, people will just shuffle through these stacks really fast and
Yep.
pull out the uncommons, rares, and mythics.
Yep.
Because you have to kind of imagine what is the life cycle of one of these cards. And what happens is typically, a kid or, us
Yep.
buys a box of cards. And then, I don't know what that is, some other game.
Yep.
Somebody buys a box of booster packs and they crack all the booster packs, and then at some point they typically get tired of playing Magic and they move on to other hobbies, and then they sell all their cards to a card store, and the card store will go through and quickly cull out all of the uncommons and rares and mythics and keep them, and then they're left with this mountain of bulk commons. Was that a 4th edition Heirloom Minotaur? Oh no, that's a revised. Very nice. Even Heirloom Minotaur, I love when it's packed fresh revised. Sometimes you'll come along collections like that have really high quality revised cards.
Not great.
Not packed fresh, no.
Still cool.
But
Yeah.
back to the thing about the life cycle of these cards is they just kind of end up as these boxes of bulk commons. And then card stores will end up, after a few years of operation, they'll have millions of bulk common cards. And they're like, how can I do anything with these besides put them in a fireplace and eat in the winter? And so that's where eBay comes in and trying to like get people excited to buy a box of cards. And so so you'll see all kinds of things of like repacks and bulk boxes and people kind of being mum about what exactly is in here, and things like that.
The red flags.
Ooh, yeah.
What do you see?
Just some more that blue one in the center with the a shield and cross swords. That's legions, I think. Yeah. It's neat because it's an old vintage card that I'm less familiar with. Like I didn't recognize the art immediately.
Yeah.
Because Legions came out after I stopped playing in high school.
I went and asked. So I left a whole bunch of stuff with my mom when I went to Germany for a while, and then I think I left that giant box of Magic cards that I had from back in high school. I was like, I'd love to go through those and see if there's anything that's actually worth something because I haven't checked them.
Yeah.
And that was when Magic had first come out, or junior
Yeah.
high.
So
Yeah.
did you find the box?
No.
Don't leave us hanging.
She can't find it. So they're probably gone. She moved houses in between then, so they may just be gone.
Yeah. And when people talk about gold vintage cards, it's always a debate of like how many of those cards have disappeared through
Yep.
stuff like that.
Exactly. End up in the trash or
So it looks like you've got at least some old vintage cards. I mean, there's a 6th edition card.
yep. 93.99 copyright. I'm gonna go for the ones that are not white on the edge.
Okay.
Da, 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 da. Oh, you can't see. It's all blurry. I'm trying to look at
it. I'll do it live.
them.
Yeah, one thing I always wonder about is how these sets, like get in this order, you know? Because nobody who collects cards puts cards out of order like this.
Hmm. Yeah. That's why I said he had a picture with just kind of scattered in random 12. 8. 6.
Yeah, 8th edition. So, 7th edition was the last core set that used the old style frame. And so 8th edition is the first one with the new frame.
Well, looking at some played cards here, I think. See what this guy is. Well played.
What is that? Pearl Unicorn or one of the
Adakar Unicorn.
Alabaster Unicorn.
Huh.
Or I can't read it. But,
It says Adarkar.
Okay.
Go back this way. Yeah, I think it's all blacks and silvers. And a nothing. So this is a really old card, I guess. 95.
Yeah, so that's a 4th edition copy of, what's it, COP Blue? Something like that. I forget which COP that is.
Circle of Protection Blue, yep.
Yeah. And so that one looks like, is that 1997?
It is, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's 5th edition, and that's kind of the annoying thing when you're sorting cards. 4th edition and 5th edition both have white borders, share a lot of the same of the cards. Neither of them uses a set symbol. And so, unless you're really familiar with just feeling the difference in the paper or seeing the difference in the ink,
Yep.
then the only way to tell them apart is one says 1997 and one says 1995.
These are the ones that I remember in my set. They didn't have anything that really helped me identify what they would be. I remember looking through them at one point, but not knowing what I was looking at.
Yeah. So it's cool. There's at least some old vintage cards in there. I'm always excited about that because it's neat to just see like how all those old cards, like there's a lot of them out there that are still in really good condition.
These seem to be in quite good condition.
How do they smell? Do they smell like ink or do they smell like mold?
Neither. Pretty new.
Okay.
Pretty nothing.
That's interesting. Because when I open boxes, like sometimes they have that great inky chemical smell to them, but then sometimes you'll get some that have just been handled way too much and they have the black mold dots growing on them,
Oh.
and so they'll just smell like almost musty. I bought a collection on eBay a few months ago, and it just smelled awful, and so I just left it open, sitting on my dresser for about 2 months for it to air out.
Dank cards.
Yeah, but I mean they're old paper, and so if they're stored in too high a humidity, they end up getting little mold dots, and so it's just
Yep.
it's one of the dangers.
So I think one day I'm gonna go, maybe today, I'll go through these and see if there's anything I can figure out to be extra interesting, and then I'll hit you up and see what you say. Because this is too many to go through. This is the third box.
Yeah, when it comes to sorting these, what I would do is go through once and sort all the vintage frame from all the modern frame, because that's a good way to divide it in half initially.
And then this is a modern frame here, and this is a vintage,
Yes.
the white.
No, the green one is vintage.
Oh, this is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Which white one are you pointing at?
This guy. This is the 95
Yeah.
to 01. So just look at the
Yeah.
dates if I can't figure it out.
Yeah, but it's really hard to sort quickly trying to focus on every day.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, you'll start to learn the difference really quick. But that's a good way to just kind of cut them in half. And those vintage frames end at 2003.
Okay. I figure, so I was looking through, I guess, Alpha Investments, and he was talking about dual lands, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that seems really familiar. I don't know where I know that from, but I had like this inkling that I had some in my old collection, which is probably wrong because it was before that, wasn't it? The dual lands.
The dual lands were printed in Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, and Revised. and I think Revised came out in '94. And so, like, I remember when we would play in the library in the morning at school, and like, I don't remember anybody ever having dual lands.
Hmm. I don't know if there's any land. I haven't seen any lands that I've been going through. Have you?
No, I don't recall seeing any in these boxes. That is kind of weird because, like, every booster pack nowadays has one land in it.
You need land to play the game.
Yeah, but they don't do those starter boxes like they used to
Oh,
when we were kids. You remember you could buy like a 60 card or a 75 card deck box,
that's what I had. The big. Well, I had the box that was about this big, but twice the size, twice the width.
but when you would buy those 60 or 75 card boxes, they would come with like 20 lands or some variable amount of land depending on when it was you were buying them.
Yep.
And so that's how people got a lot of land back then. But eventually, WotC was decided to no longer offer that product, and they decided to just put land into regular booster packs.
So it would be really interesting if this had no land in it whatsoever. It means I wouldn't be able to play a game with all these cards.
So there are a couple ways you can get land really quick and cheap. One is just find a card store in your area,
Yeah.
go there and be like, hey, can I just buy, I don't know, 30 of each basic land? And the guy will be like, oh god, yes, I have a mountain of basic land and somebody wants to offer me something. So that would be one way to do it.
Okay.
Another way is you can buy like they have
Hey,
these-
there we go. There's land.
they have what they call bundles, which are these kind of like introductory packs for new players, and they contain like 10 booster packs, but they also have a land pack in them.
Okay.
This like this clear plastic wrapped package that will have like I think it's typically 20 land, something like that.
Hmm.
So you can do it that way. Or if you want to become like a pack opening crackhead, you can just buy a bunch of packs and you'll get land.
Eventually.
It just depends on what your intention is. You know, if your intention is to just be like amused for a little while you search through this box, then mission accomplished.
That's it.
But if you want to like actually make some decks and play and stuff like that, then yeah, you'll need to find some land. But you'd probably be good to just go to a local card store and be like, hey, I need a little bit of land.
Okay.
Because you also want to go there to play with people. If like interacting in the flesh is a thing you do.
That's awful. No. So what do you think? I think we've done a good job of what we were set out to do.
Yeah, I think my conclusion is this probably came out of a card store, considering the BCW boxes.
Yeah.
And it's probably just a lot of bulk commons out of a card store, a few uncommons, and it's neat. There's some old vintage stuff in there. And so I guess the question, if you want to answer, is how much did you pay for it?
I paid about the same for shipping as I did for the cards.
Okay, so about $30 total.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yep.
And you probably got about 1,500 cards. So you paid about 2 cents each, which I'd say that's just a hair high, but it's not like you didn't get scalped. You know, when I think about buying bulk commons, probably about a penny each for totally unknown bulk commons. A
Yeah.
penny each is about what I would pay. But when I buy sets that are just vintage commons, and so they're all the old border type. Typically, what you need to pay for that is like 3 to 4 cents each, because they're older cards, and more people will try harder to get them.
Yeah.
So you're somewhere in between there, and if you actually go through and sort like vintage old border stuff from the modern cards, maybe you'll find that the ratio is high enough that it justifies it. So yeah, you might have done really well with this. Or you might have done good.
Not terrible.
Yeah, and that's the important thing. I mean, people on eBay who are trying to move massive amounts of bulk commons, it's a competitive business because there are literally billions of them in existence that people are trying to move. And so it's a difficult thing for them to get through them all and try to get some money back on them.
Yeah.
And card stores have this dilemma where they need to have cards in the case. They need to have single cards for sale in their display case because that's what gets customers to come in and they make sales, they make impulse purchases on single cards. And the way that they get single cards is by buying collections from people and culling through for the best cards,
Yep.
but also by doing mass box openings of new sets.
That makes
And
sense.
and either one of those two ways of getting cards into the case results in a ton of extra commons.
Yep.
And it's, what do you do with them? And so the answer is you try to sell some of them on eBay and move them. So and it's exciting because it's always fun to just touch the cards and smell the cards and hear them moving in your hands. And when you see those old vintage ones with the beautiful frames, the old artwork and stuff, like they just look great. And I never tire of going through boxes of cards, even though it's kind of inefficient. It's kind of a waste of time, but it's so gratifying and enjoyable.
I think so too. They just feel good. They don't smell like mold or
Yeah,
anything terrible.
and you one thing that I always do is I think about when I was in high school and I worked at my dad's company and I ran printing presses to make money and then I'd blow most of my money on Magic cards. And
Yep.
so it's kind of like, hey, now I can just buy 1,500 cards for $30 and you can kind of fantasize like what that would have been like if you could have gotten these 3 boxes when you were in high school
Yeah.
and how exciting that would have been. And so that's part of the allure of just buying a random lot on eBay and seeing what's in it.
That's
So,
what I thought, and that's what I was expecting. Like it got here, and I was like excited, ready for this morning, and it's been neat. It'll be even neater as I get to go through them.
the other cool thing you can do is you can take a bunch of those modern commons and you can like put a little rubber band around them or something. And on Halloween, you can hand them out to trick or treaters to get new crackheads addicted to the game.
Build little decks.
I wish that some people would do like a concerted effort at that. Like find some kind of set of Pokemon or Magic that's really cheap and just be like, hey guys, why don't we all buy one booster box and just give out the 36 packs to trick or treaters? Because then you have like a little kid and he gets that first experience of like opening the foil and it makes noise and it kind of ripples in his hand as he pulls back each pleat in the ceiling.
Yep.
And it like opens and then like there's these cards inside and they're so colorful and they have pictures of monsters fighting and then like one of the cards might be foiled and it's such a magical experience and it gets them addicted to opening packs and it's like that's what you need in order to increase the player base. And so like I feel like giving booster packs on Halloween would be the best way to do it. You just have to be willing to spend the money.
I think you're ideally
Right.
positioned. You have collections, you have
Yeah.
booster packs, and you have Halloween in 25 days or something.
Yeah, but yeah, these bulk sets are almost better. Like if you had some of those big oversized sleeves that you can cram like 15 cards into, and you just take those and give them to kids, then like
Yep.
maybe they think that's really cool. That's a cheaper way for you to do it.
I think
But-
so.
Yeah, maybe I'll go through and make some of those. Of course, nowadays we have like my wife and I have a bunch of kids that are trick or treating age, so we probably won't be handing out candy for a couple of years. But so
Oh right, yeah. You can't stay home. You both got to go with them.
yeah, too many kids.
Yep.
So would you say that you got $30 of enjoyment out of this?
I think so.
I mean, that's the most important thing because
Yep.
maybe we talked for the last like 40 minutes or something. I'm just guessing there, but and there's a lot more expensive ways to get 40 minutes of enjoyment. So
Agreed. Just like paying for a video game subscription. It's entertainment. It's good stuff.
yeah. All right, so I guess we'll cut it off there. So if you like this kind of thing, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and maybe Epic Hero James will join us again in the future. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Bye.